The Chicago Cubs land all-star closer Ryan Pressly from the Astros. Let's talk about it.
And it's blocked! Oh my goodness, the Packers block it, and they're gonna win!
Welcome back to Second City Sports Talk. I'm Wyatt Ballmeyer, once again, as always, in my dorm room. My roommate still does not have much on the wall. We're working on that. My wall, it's beautiful. I promise I'll show it off at some point, but you're not here to listen to me blabber about my dorm room. Now, the Chicago Cubs are making moves. We knew that Cubs convention when team president Jed Hoyer came out and said this team was not done. They were going to add specifically to the bullpen, and they have done so. They land all-star closer Ryan Pressly from the Houston Astros after, a dragged-out couple of days. Now, Bob Nightingale came out about 3 days ago saying that the Cubs were in deep talks and were about to acquire Pressly from the Astros, but Pressly had a no-trade clause. Now, with the no-trade clause, that means Pressly could veto the trade, and the rumor was the trade was in place for multiple days, yet Pressly had to decide, did he want to stay in Houston with his family or come to the Windy City? Now, there was also a trade lined up with the Detroit Tigers, but Pressly vetoed that trade and said, no, I am not going to Detroit. I don't blame him. Pressly made up his mind, and now he's a Chicago Cub, and the Cubs are getting a pretty prestigious closer, a closer with a proven track record. And let's take a look at that track record. Pressly's 36 years old. He's a 12-year veteran. He has a very respectable 3.27 ERA and over 650 career innings pitched. He has 2 seasons as well where he recorded 30-plus saves, those coming in 2022 and 2023. Now, I think the most pivotal stat amongst Ryan Pressly's pretty prestigious career is a 2.78 postseason ERA in just under 46 innings pitched. That's in 47 career playoff games. Now, when the lights are the brightest, this man is performing. Look at 2024, he lost the closer role for the newly signed Josh Hader, went 2-3 with a 3.49 ERA and 56 innings pitched, but only had a 3.10 FIP, so that FIP was about 0.4 runs lower than the ERA. So that's a pretty promising number right there. When you have a pitcher with a FIP below their ERA, that's a good sign, and really, Ryan Pressly, he's getting it done, even at the ripe old age of 36 years old. Now, there are some sites for concerns. He is 36 years old. His walk rate is going up. His strikeout rate is declining, but still, entering a contract year, Pressly is going to be hungry, and he feels a bit disrespected. The Astros were his home for 7 years, and first of all, going back to last offseason, losing his closer role and then ultimately being traded away, there's a bit of bad blood there, and I think Pressly's out for revenge. He's going to leave it all out on the field in 2025 and should hopefully be the lockdown closer this Cubs team has lacked in quite some time. In addition to the Ryan Pressly trade, there's been some other Cubs news of late, and that news, I would say, has been a bit unexpected. You go back to the Cubs convention like earlier where Jed Hoyer, Cubs team president, said that he was going to address the bullpen. He said that third base, the position in which the Cubs lost their starting third baseman Isaac Paredes in the Kyle Tucker trade, he said that position was going to be internalized this season with hopes of course, Matt Shaw playing the position. Now, ESPN, USA Today, they've all reported that the Cubs and Alex Bregman, have had some mutual interest. Now, the other report was that Alex Bregman indeed wanted to be a Chicago Cub and still wants to be a Chicago Cub, but the Cubs might not have the budget to afford a player like Bregman. Anyways, knowing Jed Hoyer, we know he loves these little short-term pillow contracts, a 1 to 3 year deal with multiple opt-outs. There's no such thing as a bad short-term deal, and I could see the Cubs doing something like a 1 to 2 to 3 year deal with a couple of options very similar to the Cody Bellinger contract. Now, both Bellinger and Bregman have Scott Boras as their agent, so it would make a lot of sense to have a pillow contract just like that. And Alex Bregman has not gotten much on the open market so far. Very few teams, you think about the Red Sox, the Tigers, the Astros, have been willing to give Bregman what he wants, a 5 to 6 year deal worth north of $150 million. And Bregman might not have a choice. He might have to go for a short-term pillow contract, and I think the Cubs would be a phenomenal fit. it gives you some insurance in case Matt Shaw's struggling. And really, you can insert Bregman into third base, anywhere else in the infield if someone gets hurt, and he would just be your consistent guy. Might not put up 7 to 8 WAR like he did early in his career, but he'd be a solid 4-5 WAR player that this team could use. He's still a very valuable offensive player, and his defense rises to the occasion. So I think a short-term pillow contract, something that this team has done a lot recently, I feel like would be a great fit. It's unfortunate that we have to live in this reality. The Cubs should not have to just give Alex Bregman a short-term contract. We should be able to pay Alex Bregman what he wants. It might not be smart, but with the Chicago Cubs, they should not have an issue paying a player that type of money. But it's the reality we live in. In other Cubs news, it has also been reported that there are more additions coming to this bullpen, and I think there's 2 names on the market that would be great fits for this Cubs pen to round out what is actually turning into a pretty good bullpen. That first name, it's not going to wow you. It's Ryan Stanek. Now, Ryan Stanek, just like Ryan Sandberg, he's 33 years old, 8-year veteran, 3.65 ERA, and just about 400 innings pitched in his career. 2024 was not great. A 4.88 ERA and 56 innings pitched, 63 games. He did have a 4.14 FIP, which, again, just like Presley, is a lot lower than his ERA. So perhaps those numbers were a bit unlucky, but at the same time, not great. Now, what I think would make Stanek a great addition to this pen is that he throws hard. There are maybe about 2 relievers in this pen that throw in the upper 90s, that being Luke Little, who is wildly inconsistent. I think he has great potential, especially as a lefty that can throw in the upper 90s, and Julian Merriweather, who was hurt most of last year and did not look good when he was healthy. Adding a pitcher like Stanek would even out the softer tossing pitchers such as obviously the Ryan Presleys. He does not throw that hard anymore. The newly acquired Eli Morgan, Miller, Porter Hodge to a certain extent. These arms that aren't going to wow you with velocity, but have good stuff. Stanek is the opposite. His stuff isn't necessarily great, but he throws hard, something that this pen needs in a shakeup compared to what we're dealing with this Cubs pen. It's David Robertson. Now, Robertson is an old friend. Back with the Cubs in 2022, he was really good, and I think it would be funny if they brought back Robertson as, well, he was traded for one of their best pitchers in the minor leagues and could be one of their best pitchers this year in Ben Brown. So I think it would be funny to have David Robertson and Ben Brown on the same team. Robertson's 39 years old, 16-year veteran, a 2.91 ERA, and just over 875 innings pitched. And if you look at David Robertson's career, he kind of fell off 2019, dealt with a lot of arm issues, but in 2021 returned with the Tampa Bay Rays, go figure, and turned his career around. I know he's old, he's going to turn 40 in the season, but this is a player who still had a 3 ERA last year and a 2.65 FIP. So he is getting things done at this old age and would just be a great added boost to the Cubs pen. Yes, he doesn't throw hard. There's a lot of guys in this pen, like we talked about earlier, that don't throw hard, but he's got good stuff, good command, and just gets it done. Something that this team needs. They need a consistent bullpen arm who we know what we're going to get out of. And I think that would be great for this pen. Doesn't throw hard. Stanek throws hard. They aren't going to get both. They just don't have the room. I would probably take Ryan Stanek just because he's a bit different, but David Robertson is a very consistent pitcher. You know what you're going to get with him, and at the end of the day, that might be better than getting the wild card in Ryan Stanek. Now, the final part of this team, which I think will get addressed in the offseason, is the bench position. Now, they just signed John Birdie, a very valuable depth piece in the infield. One of the fastest players in baseball. He can play pretty much anywhere in the diamond. I think he's going to be a great addition to this bench, a bench that we really don't know much about. They got rid of Miles Mastroboni. I love you, Miles. Gonna have to get your autograph in spring training with the Mariners. You're one of my favorite players. Mastroboni's gone. Obviously, Madrigal's gone. Right now, it's just John Birdie and Gage Workman, who will be returned. Mentioned he was a Rule 5 draft pick. He will be returned to the Tigers if he does not make the opening day roster, which I think he will. ASU alumni right there. Got to represent. So, Couple of names out there. Number one, we've already talked about him. It's Justin Turner. I said he'd be a great fit, a great veteran fit, especially if the Cubs cannot get Alex Bregman, which I don't think they will. A great player to mentor, a young player like Workman, a young player like Bush, and Matt Shaw. So that would be a great piece right there. And also Mark Canha. Now, at this point in his career, he is a bench player. He's got a connection with Craig Counsell. You go back to 2023, he was on that team. Canha also hits lefties, a valuable bench piece. He is a righty, somebody who can offset Bush and play first base just like Turner, and just serves as insurance. Not a player who's going to play every day, but a player who can be relied upon if a Bush or Shaw struggles, much like Justin Turner. So I think Mark Canha and Justin Turner would both be phenomenal bench options for a team that really we really don't know what this bench is going to look like. And look, there's still about a month and a half till opening day, but the clock is ticking. Stuff is going to get done. Spring training starts 2 weeks, actually just under 2 weeks from Monday. And I'm excited. Pitchers and catchers report on Super Bowl Sunday for the Chicago Cubs. Me being out in Arizona, I will be going to check that out before the Chiefs take on the Eagles. It's a horrible Super Bowl in my opinion. It's definitely not what America wants, but I'll be there. Look, patience is starting to pay off. The Cubs are putting together a pretty formidable team, and you know what? It's going to get even better.